Welcome. Look who's here. Look who's here. It's you. Yes, you. I feel like I just had a flashback of Steve, from Blue's Clues. You parents or current parents or those who parented small children, you know about Blue. You know about Blue. Steve was awesome. What's so interesting? I know this is where I go off on tangents right away. I didn't realize Blue was a girl. That was a shock to me. I learned that years after I stopped watching that show, that Blue is a girl. Not that it matters, but I just assumed, right? We think blue, we think boy. Isn't that funny? We're so conditioned like that. But when I was watching a birthday one, he's like, oh, where's the birthday girl? I'm like, whoa, she's a girl. And of course, her friend is Magenta. Magenta. I love that color. I love the name. Anyway, welcome. Welcome to Seared. This is not Steve from Blue's Clues, but welcome to Seared, Stories from the Stove podcast. I'm Paul Silva, retired chef, current goofball, future dirt napper. Listen, we're here for a good time, not a long time. Remember, Trooper? All right, I'm going to slow it down. I'm coming in hot. I've had too much coffee. I'm probably over-medicated. I currently have the vid, so I'm going to try to make this short. But I do need another coffee, though. That's the funny thing. I'm hyped and amped. And maybe you're having a coffee now. Maybe you're watching or listening to this, as you're having lunch or whatever it is you're shoving in your pie hole. And thank you for being here. So speaking of pies, speaking of pie hole, speaking of pies, we're at that time of year. We're at the time of year. It's around Christmas, the holidays, whatever it is that you celebrate or don't celebrate. When I think of this time of year, pies, I think of apple pie or sweet potato pie or pumpkin pie. But apparently, the most popular pie at this time of year is the mince meat pie. Mince meat. It's a UK thing. It's a specialty. I think it traces back to the 13th, 14th century. Can't remember. And I'm continually fascinated with it. I know people are just posting online and just loving it. I've never tried it, actually. And I'm open to it because as a chef, I'm open to trying things. But here's the thing you need to know about me. I can't stand dried fruit in desserts. There, I said it, okay? Now, fresh fruit, I can do that. Like, I can often do that. Like the apple pie I mentioned, or let's say strawberry shortcake, or pineapple upside down cake. I can do those. I like the fresh fruit stuff. But things like raisin oatmeal cookies, fruit cake, anything that combines like chocolate and fruit, panettone, to me, it's like all a hard pass. It's a no. Now, I'll give you this. The only one I'll give you are date squares. That's it. Those are the bomb. Other than that, no way, Jose. And listen, when it comes to dried fruit, there is a special place in hell for raisins. Yes, raisins. Raisins ruin everything. Everything they touch. Butter tarts, they ruin cinnamon buns, they ruin apple pie, muffins. They ruin apple strudels. Apple strudels. How can you do that? They ruin scones, empanadas, rice, carrot cake, stuffing. Like they're the big ruiners of the culinary world, at least to me. I don't know. Raisins. Anyway, going back to mincemeat. It's literally all the things I don't like in dessert, which is just all cut up dried fruits. Now, it's mixed with beef suet, which is beef fat, and even sometimes actual ground beef, and kindly baked for your dining pleasure. I don't know. I think I'd probably prefer the one with the beef, to be honest, at least because there's some savory to balance the punch in the mouth of like sweet, wet cardboard or whatever it feels like. But listen, just going to be open. If someone wants to give me or send me a small sample, I wouldn't say no just for the sake of science. Because as a chef, like I said, I don't say no to trying something. I mean, I've had all sorts of stuff. I've had lamb intestines and heart and all those kind of other lovely things. So a bit of sweet meat, may not be the worst thing in the world. So I'm open to it. That's my gift to everyone. Anyway, speaking of giving, 'tis the season. 'Tis a season. They call this the season of giving, which is silly because I think all seasons should be giving. What I wanted to share with you is a quick profile of a chef I used to work for. I mean, it's not just him, but there was something specific about him that to this day I remember, and I want to share this with you. And I've talked about him before in the past, but not on this show. Now, chefs by nature are givers. Yeah, there's some tools out there. Of course, every industry has tools. But overall, chefs like to nourish. They shed their hearts, right? They put their passion into their dishes. And the good ones, the ones who do it well, are the ones who want it just right. You know, I'm not talking about perfectionism or fine dining, anything. I'm not talking about that. This can be anything from a beautiful club sandwich to a jerk chicken meal to a samosa to a duck confit dish. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, cooks with the big hearts, the biggest hearts, they want their food to fit the bill. They want it to match the love and the vision they have of it to match what's going on the plate. And cooks and chefs, yeah, they're grumpy. We can be grumpy mofos, but they show their love through food. It's like a love language we have. I was watching One Piece. I don't know if you saw One Piece. And one of the characters, he's a cook, and someone comes in and they're starving, but they don't have money or anything, and he cooks for them. And they're saying, "Why you do it?" He goes, "Because I'm a cook. I feed people." Right? Like that's what we do. Like it's just that's part of what we share. That's part of our gift is to nourish in all different ways with the eyes and the taste and the social component. And when I saw that, I said, yes, someone understands, because that's what cooks are like. Now, as a chef, you know, for those who may not know, you're not just cooking. You're also running a team. You're building menus to appease but challenge or surprise diners to make a profit as well. You're making sure that the numbers are all in the right place. Are the costs effective? Is the labor in line? You're dealing with health codes and equipment and recruiting, sourcing ingredients. You're ordering, you're creating systems, you're doing schedules, and just there's so much more to being a chef than cooking. That's why you see a lot of chefs aren't on the line a lot. They're too busy doing all the other stuff. So giving doesn't end necessarily at the pass where the plates line up. And this will make sense in a moment. So the man I want to talk about embodied giving and service to others, but in a small but powerful way that I noticed, and I'm not sure how many other people did, but it's something that has stuck with me since the day I experienced it. And in that, he showed me like a really potent leadership lesson that no textbook or course could ever give. And it was simply this. When you went to his office, he was often on his computer, doing the things I was sharing, right? His back would sort of face you, but the moment he heard someone come in, he immediately stopped what he was doing, turned his chair to face you, then got right up, moved towards you, and put his hand out to shake your hand. He welcomed you. And it didn't matter if you were there unannounced or if you had like a meeting planned ahead of time. It didn't matter if you were, let's say, the newest dishwasher, right? Or the CEO. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if you were there for a serious issue or you just popped in to say hi. To him, it was just part of who he was. He rose, he glided towards you, looked you in the eyes, and again, extended his hand out to you to welcome you. That's what he did. And that was it. That was it. And it's like, okay, well, all right, Paul, that's so what? But what is so special about that? What is it that has stuck with me for so long? It's the feeling he gave you. That you were the most important person in the world at that moment. You felt taken care of. You felt like you were going to be heard and seen. Now, contrast that with his boss, who I also reported to, who they shared the same office. Okay. Now, I had been called down at times to speak to the executive chef. And when I'd come in, often he'd be on the phone already or talking to someone in his office. Now, I would motion sort of like, hey, I'll wait outside. I'll wait outside till you're done. And he would shake his head and motion for me to sit down. And sit I would. And I'd wait. And I'd wait more. And I'd keep waiting. And I know it's probably my ego speaking, but I felt so small and insignificant. Like I felt like I was a side note, an afterthought. Like he had more important things to do than to have me there. I did not feel good. I did not feel seen. I did not feel that connection because it's like this guy's purposely making me wait. I don't know what it was. It was probably unconscious. But that's how I felt. So given the choice between the two chefs, I imagine most of us would rather be greeted by the first chef. And why is that? Well, again, it's like because we feel good about ourselves. We feel seen. We feel important. We feel like we're getting intentional attention. And that builds trust so much faster than anything else can. Because again, that safety we feel. We feel like there's a strong foundation of respect and connection. And that's part of being a powerful leader. It's that connection piece, the one piece. It doesn't mean that necessarily you're pals. It doesn't have to be that at all. It's just that it means that I'm here with you. Like there's no distractions. You matter. And and that's all we really want and need, right? To feel that we matter. Like how wonderful would it be if people in your workplace, your family, your community, your book club, whatever it is, all felt that from you? What if you gave others the gift of your undivided attention and energy? How do you think things would improve at work, at home, in the world at large? Be pretty cool. Now, I'm going to expand on this a little bit, but I want to again share that this is something that, again, doesn't sound big, but it makes such a big impact. And that's often what happens. It's just those moments that add up or just give you this insight or flash of, wow, this makes me feel good. All right, we're going to get back. Grab yourself a non-dried fruit meal. And we'll rejoin by the coffee machine. Come on, I'll see you in a bit. So there's this cat named Earl Nightingale, not a literal cat, you know what I'm saying? And he was one of the first ever motivational speakers. He was a radio announcer and speaker. He recorded several albums, which sold in the millions. And this was back, in the 50s, essentially. I believe it was the 50s, yeah, maybe even before. He was a successful businessman, and he was a mentor to many people, but Bob Proctor, namely one of them, who's someone I have worked with a bit in the past. And listen, by the way, if you want something absolutely fantastic to listen to, go to YouTube, search up The Strangest Secret by him. I'll put it in the links in the line in the show notes. And now it's about 30 minutes long, and I would highly recommend that you listen to it like every day for a month. It's fantastical. Fantastic. It's practical. It's inspiring, and it talks about goals and mindset. It's just brilliant and very highly recommended. I did this for a month too. It just locks in so many things. Anyway, he had a program called Lead the Field, and it's again one of the first ever personal development programs out there, and it's still really useful and relevant today. I facilitated it a couple years ago, and it has some really gold nuggets in there for sure. Now, the first chapter is all about attitude. And I've spoken about this in previous episodes, I know. But essentially, it's about treating everyone as if they were the most important person in front of you. And one reason Earl shares why this is important to do this is because this is the way human beings ought to treat each other, period. And to further quote him, I'm going to quote from him, there's nothing in the world that men, women, and children want and need more than self-esteem. The feeling that they're important, that they're needed, that they're respected. They will give their love, their affection, their respect, and their support to the person who fills this need. How cool is that? Right? Giving of yourself, giving of your time and attention is huge, especially now where everything, especially like social media and such, and everyone is vying for your attention. And because of this, your attention is a type of currency, if you think about it. And the question is, who will you share that attention with? Who will you give of that currency? And so the chef I was sharing about he was very generous, but he was still mindful of where his energy went. It wasn't just like a gunshot spread all over the place. When he popped out of his chair to greet you, his focus was on you and you alone. There's a gift in a society where we are, that's a gift in a society where we're continually distracted. You don't get a lot of that, right? And I used to be one of those guys that I'd be on, I don't know about you, but I'd be on my laptop and I'd have an open door, but someone would come in and I just look up kind of like, yeah, and I'm still typing, or I'm still whatever. And I realized after some time, I thought of this chef. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like, what am I signaling to this person that's coming in? What message am I sending them? That they're interrupting, that they're a nuisance, that they're a pest, that, I've got better things to do. And so I started to do that. Yes, it takes, I'm getting interrupted anyway. It doesn't matter. But at least I might as well make an effort to make them feel that they're special and important and necessary, needed. And even if they're saying, hey, can you just pass me that thing over there? Where's the key to this? Doesn't matter. Or if they're they need to unload something very personal, it doesn't matter. And when I started to do that, I started to see a shift, not only in myself, but how everyone kind of approached me in future. And they would approach me more than my colleagues because they felt I was seeing them more. And then there were some other benefits, I'll share later. But, when you give someone your undivided attention, that shows a level of respect. We make people feel valued. And in return, you'll find that others will reciprocate, like I was just saying. They may feel less, not combative, but they may feel less intimidated. Your stress reduces. You'll find that people will go more out of their way to help you. People will open up more to you, which can lead to more productivity and more connection. And you'll feel good about being there for others. At least for me. For me, it does. And I know this is not meant to be transactional, but by laws, universal laws, whatever energy you're going to put out, the energy has to come back. We've talked about the law of cause and effect. There's other laws that are in tune with that. So, understanding this, how can you practice this with others? What does this type of giving look like? So I'm going to give you a few tips. One is what's your posture like? Is it reflecting that you're listening, that you're there? Are you slouched? Are you giving off a type of, I don't want to be here kind of vibes? Or, are your shoulders back? Is your head up? Is your chest out? Are you present to them? Are you leaning in? Or are you just back with your hands, kicking back? That makes a huge difference. Another one is making eye contact. And this is so key. This is so important. Are you looking at them? Are you taking things in? Or are your eyes just kind of darting and just scanning the room? Maybe you're looking down, because again, how would you feel? What would you rather have? Another one is match your facial expression to the situation or topic. Are you smirking when the other person is being vulnerable? Are you rolling your eyes? Or are you being responsive to what they're saying? It doesn't mean to play a clown and just and frown, and it doesn't mean that, but just being truly authentic and taking in what they're saying, whatever it is. Again, it could be a practical thing. It could be something that they're sharing that's personal, but just be responsive to. So that they also know that you're listening. And speaking of listening, actively listen. And that means not jumping in or interrupting or talking over them. It's listening to understand, not to just formulate a response, if that makes sense. We do that so much. We're listening to someone, and as they're talking, we're already creating our little response, and then we're waiting for that moment that we can jump in with our nuggets of wisdom. But I challenge you to listen to understand, not formulate anything. Just let it come through. Pick up on and make mental notes of keywords or phrases that you feel are important to them. So when you do speak, and I would say have a pause before you speak. So again, like what happens is when we formulate a response, the second they're quiet, we jump in. But when you pause, like we just paused here, when you pause, they feel like you heard them because you're still taking it in, right? So when you do speak, you can repeat to them, or better rephrase back to them, the things that they said. And again, it makes them feel heard. Another one is put the phone away, right? Not just upside down. Simon Sinek does a great short talk in that. And again, I'll put the show notes. I'll put that in the show notes. But you don't want the phone to be seen or like nearby or just turned upside down. Like have it put away or far away, put in your pocket. Because you don't want to make it seem like the phone could be a potential distraction. And that's you're looking for the opposite of that. Pay attention to their body language. Up to 80% of what we receive from people in terms of information is nonverbal. So how are they showing up? Are they saying one thing, but their body language saying another? That happens. Is there something in their face or their stance that can give you more context or more information? Take note. I mean, we all have intuition. Use your gut. They're saying one thing and their body's, moving a different way. And you can make note of that. Watch for fiddling, right? Many of us unconsciously maybe shake our legs or maybe click a pen over and over again or do something that can be distracting to someone else. So just breathe. Notice your body. Calm any fidgeting. That can signal to the other person that you're anxious or nervous, or just take their attention or your attention away. So just catch yourself. Just take a few deep breaths. Also, don't multitask. Don't clean your desk or tidy up or whatever while the person's speaking, because now you're dividing your attention. And remember, undivided attention is just that. It's not divided. And again, if you're saying that they're the most important person in the world at that moment, then why are you checking your emails at the same time? Again, what you're saying and what you're doing or what you're thinking are not in alignment. They're not congruent. So when you give others the gift, and it is a gift, it's the season, but again, all the time, the gift of your undivided attention and your energy, it's like you're making a bold claim. You're signaling to yourself and others that your attention is solely focused on one person and nothing else. You're building the habit of demonstrating a good attitude, like Earl talked about, towards yourself and the world. And like I mentioned before, this kind of energy that you're putting out, it comes back to you in some ways. For me, the way the energy showed back to me was that when I had a challenge, I was often received this in the same way that I received others, with respect and kindness. Or my staff would go above and beyond for me, help me out, get me out of a jam. Or people would show their appreciation in different ways. I never got a mince meat pie, but I got plenty of panettone. Let's just say that. But again, this is not about doing it expecting something in return. It's the wrong mindset. It's not transactional. You do it because that's who you are, and that's how you operate. You give because it's in your nature. We're always looking for ways to grow, homie. Right? I think we'll leave it there. Speaking of growing, let's keep growing the subs here at Seared. If this was useful or entertaining or both or whatnot, please share it with someone who you think would benefit. That makes a huge difference to the podcast and that's going to help the algorithm recommend it to more people. And helping as many people, that's my goal here. I've said it before, I'll say it again. You can also subscribe, review, comment, like, or if you're watching this on YouTube, just dingle dangle the bell and you'll get notifications. Now, as far as next week, there will not be an episode. I'll be partaking in raisin-free delicacies and such. And I'll just be chilling. So we'll actually reconnect in the new year. So wishing you and your family safe and happy holiday season. Some of you may be working. And if so, I wish you well. And for those, especially in the hospitality industry, because I know you're working, I wish you smooth services. And please make sure that the manager, takes care of you, buys you a drink, maybe two. I don't know. But of course, be responsible. Be responsible out there. Sounds like my dad, the dad voice coming out. All right, my friend. Thanks again for being here. And kitchen's closed. Now, scram. Get out. See you next year. Scram.